by Chris Garland. Brothers and sisters, I want you to get on your feet right now. At home, I want you to stand up too. I want everybody to put their hands together for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. No justice, no peace. 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 What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. Fist bump the person next to you, tell them you love them. In Brunswick, Georgia, with little hope that we would get justice in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. I'm saying Amadou, all these cases go together. Ahmaud Arbery. We had such little hope, but we marched anyhow and stood with that family. Now today, not only did we convict in state court for murder the three killers, but this week the federal case ended with the jury finding them three guilty of civil rights violation. If you don't give up, if you don't back down, if you keep on fighting, your change will come. Your change will come. From Ben Crump and Tracy Martin and Queen Sabrina came to New York and explained to me what happened to Trayvon Martin. I had not heard about the case. And we called a march. They had the hoodies down at Union Square. And then we called a march in Sanford, Florida. When I got down to Sanford, Florida, and we had the first big rally, about 10,000 people came out. We had heard that day. That morning, I found out my mother died. I went anyway. And as I was headed to the stage, somebody showed me on my smartphone that in Albany, there a state senator had wore a hoodie on the floor of the state senate, protesting Trayvon Martin wearing a hoodie on the floor of the state senate, showing his alliance and allegiance to justice for Trayvon and for Sabrina. Well, 10 years later, that senator with the hoodie is here to welcome Sabrina to New York. He's the mayor of the city of New York. If you keep on going, your change will come. Your change will come. Your change will come. National Action Network Change Ensemble, give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. For you that are here in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the Village of Harlem. And for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and for you that are watching on our various media platforms, we are welcoming you again to our Saturday rally where we give our report on where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy. And give a hand, didn't we enjoy our inspirational speaker this morning, Pastor of St. Paul Baptist Church, Reverend Brawley. Give Reverend Brawley a hand. Let me say that today is a special day that we are commemorating the life and the movement of Trayvon Martin. 10 years ago today, Trayvon Martin was killed in Sanford, Florida. And though we did not get justice in that case, Trayvon Martin's murder, assassination, was the impetus of a movement that has gone on ever since. What Emmett Till was in the 50s, Trayvon Martin has been for the 21st century. I never forget, I was honored to be around in the latter years Rosa Parks. And Rosa Parks said in a small gathering, about 3 or 4 of us were talking to her, and she said, you know, Reverend, when I sat down in the front of the bus and they told me to move, and I wouldn't move, and they threatened to arrest me, all I could think about was Emmett Till, and I couldn't move. In the last 10 years, whether we marched in Ferguson, whether we marched here for Eric Garner, whether we marched in Minneapolis for George Floyd, all we could think about was what they did to Trayvon Martin. And we were not going to stop marching. And that's why we're honored that his family came to New York today to mark the 10th anniversary in New York with those of us that stood with him. Y'all get that out that chair. Come up. I want one of the families that is wanting to join and be with us this morning. I have Terrence with us, the brother George Floyd. Come and sit up here with us, Terrence. George Floyd's brother tonight. I don't know why you sit in the audience. You know you sit up here. Before I bring Sabrina on to make her statement, and Sabrina and Javaris, who was Trayvon's brother, are with us, and their relatives. But before I bring them, I want us to first hear from the president of the New York City Council, the first black woman. We got a black woman headed to the Supreme Court. But we already got a supreme black woman as the president of the New York City Council, Honorable Adrienne Adams.
I love you all, you know that? Good morning, NAN family. You know, if I could just put a cot out here on this floor and just stay here all weekend long to just be with y'all and soak up all of this love that you have always had for me, I would just, hi sister, yeah. I would just do that, I would just do that. Good morning. It is once again my esteemed honor to stand before you this morning, representing your New York City Council and your New York City. But I also stand here as one who remembers 10 years ago what this nation went through because of a thing that we know as white supremacy. Wow. And we saw a young man that did no harm to anyone try to make it home one evening, minding his own business. And we saw that young man whose life was interrupted suddenly because of white supremacy and white privilege at the hands of a wannabe. This man was not an official police officer. And I have news for you, even if he was, he had no right to take the life of a 17-year-old beautiful black boy. And so as we watch the life and the tragic death of this beautiful black boy transform a nation, as so many of us marched with our hoodies on, I know I did, down Merrick Boulevard in Southeast Queens with hundreds on a Saturday morning. And we marched in silence, but the silence was deafening because we were a part of a movement that was not just Southeast Queens. It was Harlem, it was Bed-Stuy, it was Staten Island, it was across this city and across this nation. The name Trayvon Martin is written in the annals and the history books of this world. And it is because, ironically enough, of what continues to make America, America. It is because of the system that built the system that we know the name, the great name, Trayvon Martin. And it is because of the system that, along with the 110th mayor of the city of New York, Mayor Eric Adams, it is along with him that I partner with this city in leadership. And together, we are determined to break down systemic barriers that have held people of color down for far too long. It is because the both of us have lived and witnessed enough tragedies that make our own children shiver, that make us shake for the very lives of our own children. And so I say to you this morning that we will continue to fight. We will continue to lift up the name of Trayvon Martin and that beautiful, beautiful spirit that he held and that still lives in all of us today. And I tell you, in the year 2022, going into, God willing, 2023, whenever I see a hoodie rev, I still think of Trayvon Martin. His legacy lives on in our wardrobe. Can you imagine that? We put on these hoodies and those hoodies, and Trayvon's legacy lives on, and it breathes that life that he no longer breathes, but we breathe it for him. And so as we stand here this morning in the power of the House of Justice, and the power of black leadership, and the power of the very God that gives us breath today, we breathe on for Trayvon. We march on for Trayvon in the silence that is still deafening, but in the voices that make a world and a nation take note. March on, Trayvon, march on.
City Council President Adrian Adams, give her another hand. Let me also recognize New York State Assemblyman Eddie Gibbs is in the house. He's seated behind me, and of course, the queen of the movement, our queen mother, President, New York State chapters of the NAACP, Hazel N. Dukes. And the president, the chairman of the Harlem Chamber of Commerce, give him a big, he's here every week anyway, Lloyd Williams, give him a hand. And again, we're so happy Reverend Brawley was with us. Reverend Brawley is doing a fantastic job in East New York community as pastor of St. Paul. I watched him grow. I'm preaching tomorrow at my home church, Bethany Baptist Church in Brooklyn, at where I started in activism at 12 under Reverend William Jones. I'll be with Reverend Lacey, but Reverend Brawley felt sorry for me, had me come preach at St. Paul's and give me a little envelope, so I appreciate him. I need a little envelope every now and then. But he is what I love to see with the younger generation of ministers that minister, not just preach. I'm tired of people that get up and preach and entertain, but don't pastor the community and don't do anything about the community. Trayvon Martin was the victim of a hate crime. We wanted today, 10 years later, to say that we stand in his name against all hate crime, whether it's against blacks, Latinos, Asians, Jews, gays. Hate against anybody is wrong. You can't just fight for yours. You gotta fight against everyone. So when I text the mayor and said that Sabrina and Javaris was coming and we wanted to stand against hate, he said, I said, I want to get it on your schedule. He said, whatever's on my schedule, I'll be there. I was there 10 years ago for Trayvon, and we've got to fight against hate together today. Eric Adams is not here because he's mayor. He's mayor because he's been there all along. Don't get it twisted. A lot of folks that will criticize him in the name of their activists was not active when Eric Adams was an activist out there when it were just a few of us. Don't show up late to class and start taking attendance. Get a seat in the back. He has walked the walk. Whether it was Howard Beach, whether it was Bensonhurst, all the way through. I can testify for 35 years. We walked together, even when he was in the police department. I remember when I was running and they had threatened my life. I was stabbed once. He took 100 black men and provided security for my family. So all these you know, they have what they call those that will cook a meal. Sabrina, then they have these people that just put it in the microwave. All these microwave activists that have not been nourished and cooked, they just heat it up for one issue. We saw a lot of microwave activists 10 years ago that a year later we couldn't find them. Sabrina ain't seen them. Because they were microwave activists. I bring you a long distance runner, one that has been there, that is not new to the cause, but true to the cause, the mayor of the city of New York. Honorable Eric Adams.
Oh man, I come here, and you know the rules. You don't stand for me, I stand for you. And I'm going to continue to do so. I come here from the law firm of Adams and Adams. Adams and Adams. My Bayside colleague. You know, I had to be here today, 10 years later, and if you lose a child, the pain is never eradicated. Every birthday, every holiday, every time you walk past their favorite location, every time you hear something that sounds like their name, you relive the pain. And we don't understand that the body internally does not know the difference between the actual action you're going through and how you feel inside. And the only way you could find a way to dissipate that pain is to turn pain into purpose. And that's what Sister Sabrina has done. She took the dark moment of losing her baby at 17, and she decided to say, let me take that dark moment and move it from a burial to a planting. And today we see the fruits of her harvest in the foundation that she has established and continue to pursue the justice we are looking for. You can take a terrible terminology and either allow that terminology to define you, or you can redefine it. What Sabrina did was redefine it. Stand your ground, which was meant to use as a violent way to hurt people, which is still active right now. Sabrina has taken those words and redefined them after the tragic murder of her son. She standing her ground and stated, we have to fight for the things that are right. We need to stand our ground as we fight for all the issues that we have known have historically impacted our communities. There is no tragedy in the mind of so many when a 17-year-old black boy is shot and killed. But we must stand our ground and say it does matter. We must stand our ground as we fight to ensure that we don't continue to see these laws that are put in place to define people based on their gender, their ethnicity, based on their lifestyle and who they are. It defines them. And Rev was right. Fighting for Trayvon is fighting against anti-Asian violence. Trayvon was shot and killed because of who he looked like. That is what you're seeing. If someone is Asian, they are being murdered because who they look like. Someone who's in the transgender community is being assaulted because of who they look like. Someone who is Jewish and wearing a clothing is being attacked because of who they look like. Someone who's wearing a hijab that's being spat on or attacked or assaulted is being assaulted because of who they look like. If we stand our ground for Trayvon, we're standing our ground for every group in the city. You cannot be treated based on what you look like. And 10 years ago, Sabrina, 10 years ago when we got to the Senate floor with our hoodie on, they said protocol does not allow you to wear a hoodie on the Senate floor. That you can't do that. You must not come in and show any expression of any form of protest. I said, maybe you have not heard it, but let me be clear. You are about to witness us stand our ground. We're going on the Senate floor with this hoodie. We must be documented in history where we were when these issues take place, so that we can always be able to reflect that we were present, we were there. And 10 years later, there isn't a question mark of asking, where were you, Eric, when Trayvon Martin was murdered? There's a clear exclamation point. I was there. I understood the significance of the moment. I knew if we didn't stand our ground for what was right then, we will be facing a continuation of the problems we're having now. That is why it's crucial that we stand up and stand our ground for Sabrina and the countless number of young black and brown boys who are finding themselves as victims of this violence that we are seeing pervasive across this entire country. So I'm proud to be here with a mother. And all mothers know, you lose a child, all of you hold your stomach. Because although the physical umbilical cord may have been severed at the time of birth, there's an emotional umbilical cord that lasts a lifetime. You feel the pain of Sabrina. It didn't have to be Trayvon. It could have been Tommy. It could have been Bakim. It could have been Harry. It could have been John. You know this pain all too well. Today, 10 years later, we stand our grounds to remind ourselves, although there's work to do, we're willing to do the work that needs to be done. Thank you so much, man.
Man, Eric Adams. Let me now bring to you a sister beloved. I've worked with her down through the last decade. And unlike some, she did not just go back to her regular life. She stood there with other mothers, helped form Mothers of the Movement. Every time there was an incident, she was there. Every situation, she was there. She formed a foundation in the name of Trayvon. And they work with young people. They're training young people. They do youth services there in the area that Trayvon grew up and lived. She is a committed leader and a committed activist. And I'm honored that she would come to NAN on the 10th anniversary today of the most tragic day of her life and of Javaris's life. The brother is here with her as well. Let us hear a few words from the mother of Trayvon Martin, Sabrina Fulton.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Almighty God, because I certainly don't look like what I've been through. So a lot of people talk about Trayvon Martin's story. It's not a story for me. It's a tragedy, because a story has a beginning and an ending. There is no ending for what I carry in my heart. Rev just touched on it just for one little second, and he mentioned that it's something about when you carry a child. When you carry a child for 9 months and you see your heart walking outside of your body, you never lose that love. And I repeat all the time, not even the death of my son would separate me from the love of my son. And I mean that. And so I just want to say, of course, today is a bittersweet day. I thank God for all the Trayvon Martins that you don't know. All the young ladies who have been shot and killed, and our black and brown boys who have been shot and killed, and you don't know their names. Thank you for standing up for them. Thank you for praying for them. Thank you for supporting them. They need you. They need your voice. And if you don't do anything else, don't give up. That's my message. Don't ever give up. 10 years later, and I'm still standing strong. So let me tell you now why it was so important for me to be here. Because I never do anything on the 26th. I never even plan anything on the 26th of February. But when people support you, you have to support them. And I'm going to tell you about Reverend Sharpton. From day one, from the time he got that call, Rev could pick up the phone anytime and call me. I could pick up the phone anytime and call Rev, and he's there. Those type of supporters you don't lose hold of. Even the death of his mother, Rev showed up. He told us my mother would have wanted me to be here, and he was there. That means a lot. That means a lot. And not only Rev, but the whole NAN family, the whole Sharpton family. It's certainly a blessing to be here, but we have to continue to hold people accountable for killing our loved ones. We have to continue to support our children, our families. We have to continue. We can't give up. We come too far. Thank you.
Let me say this. Stand up here, Tavares, and the speaker, and Reverend Brawley. I gotta teach you young preachers how to get in the picture. Come on, Reverend Brawley. Yeah, don't be shy. They just try to keep me out of the picture. That's how everybody know me. I put my head in the picture. One, I want to, on behalf of the Trayvon Martin Foundation, that she has started and led, to make sure we give the mayor one of our, he likes to wear these, so we giving him one of the Trayvon Martin bracelets, bands. And secondly, and I know he's got to go, we're going to let him go, but secondly, I want him to be here with Adams and Adams. About 2 weeks ago, on Trayvon's birthday, they had the Trayvon Martin Foundation dinner and weekend, the Peace Walk in Miami. And National Action Network bought some tables for $10,000, and I raised the offering that night and pledged another $10,000 with $20,000 from National Action Network. I want to give her now the check for $10,000 from the National Action Network. All right, give a hand to the mayor. We're going to let him continue his schedule and thank him for coming and thank the city council president for coming. Give them a big hand. This is why we have a National Action Network, because we want to keep the movement going. And we want people to understand this is not just something that happened. Our young people, you heard from Huddle this morning, this is historic that we can have the biggest city in the world mayor stop and say, wait a minute, let's not go past what happened to Trayvon Martin. Let's not act like we don't still have these issues. Several things before we move on. This week, we saw, y'all don't move around so much. Whatever y'all got to talk about, y'all can talk about after I get finished. This week we saw several things that are important. One, we saw the conviction of 3 policemen in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for not interfering and protecting the rights of George Floyd. Now let me tell you why that's important. It sent a message to police all over this country that you not only cannot do wrong, you can't stand by quietly and watch another policeman do wrong without you being charged and going to jail yourself. That is a real important message to say to police all over the country that if you stood there and watched a man with his knee on the neck of another man for 9 minutes and 29 seconds and you did nothing about it, that you are as guilty as the man that put his knee on the neck. Give a hand now, Congressman Adriana Espiat, Congressman Espiat coming in. You know how these politicians are, they wait for one to leave so they can make a grand entrance. He was outside in the car waiting on the mayor to leave so he could come in. Me and Adriano, we cool like that. I can snap on him. I want y'all to understand, though, the significance of that verdict. Because it makes every policeman, see, before the police would feel no matter what they did, they were not going to be prosecuted. Now they're saying, wait a minute, there's a different flavor going on in the Justice Department, so they prosecuted these policemen. They prosecuted them on the state level. But now Christian Clark and them prosecuted them on the federal level. And they said, well, no jury gonna convict us because we didn't do anything. Chauvin did everything. The jury came back and convicted them, and they're facing decades in jail for standing there and not saving the life of George Floyd. See, one of the things we've always had to fight, all of us, Hazel and all of us, is the unions. And the union can't tell you something when you see your fellow officer going to jail for not doing his job. Second thing we saw this week that was important is we saw the conviction in Brunswick, Georgia, of 3 whites that killed Ahmaud Arbery, who had already been convicted of murder. The reason that's important, I told you before, when I went down to Brunswick, Georgia, Brunswick is not Atlanta. Brunswick is rural Georgia. You know, we went down there, Sabrina, in the middle of the pandemic. So everything was shut down, couldn't get room service in the hotel. Everything was shut down, Reverend Brawley. So we had to go out to get even tea. And I'm going down, I got in the car, whoever was traveling with me at the time had the driver bring us downtown to get tea. And if you ride down the main street in Brunswick, you think you was on the set of Gone with the Wind. That's how back it looked. Had these trees with the willows. I was almost afraid to get out. So when they gave us a jury of 11 whites and 1 black, I said, this is gonna be rough. And I thought about it. I was in the courtroom in Albany when the jury came back and acquitted those police on Amadou Diallo. I was in the courtroom in Queens when they acquitted the policeman that killed Sean Bell. So I started preparing the family for this may not go well, but at least we got in the court, at least we got a hearing. And the mother kept saying, don't worry, Reverend, we're gonna be all right. Yeah. And I was like, I kept trying to temper her. Then we got there one day and the lawyer got up and objected to me being in the courtroom. My name said I was there and he didn't need no black pastors in the courtroom. I got up and said, well, we're gonna have 100 more. And we ended up with 300 coming. I called Bishop Reggie Jackson and Reverend Jamal Bryant. We organized, they brought preachers from all over Georgia and all over the country. Preachers started flying down from New York. And we showed them. But then they came 2 days in deliberation, and I was having lunch at one of the local black entrepreneurs with Ahmaud's father, Marcus Arbery and Ben Crump, who I call the Attorney General of Black America. Yeah. We was eating, and we got the text. The jury's coming back in an hour. And we got in the car, and I'm telling the father, don't worry, whatever the verdict is, you made the world stand up and know about your son. And we got there, they let us in the courtroom, just the mother and the father me and the lawyers. And I sat between the mother and father. They brought the jury out, and when the jury read the first count, guilty, the mother stood up and said, I told you. Her faith was never shaken. Then it goes on to the federal trial. They made a deal to plead guilty. The mother and the father said, no, we don't accept the plea. We want them to go to trial. Some in the legal community said, no, 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 accept the plea. They go to trial, they may get acquitted. The family said, we want them to go to trial. We want the world to know not only are they guilty of murder, they're guilty of racial murder. You got to remember what we found guilty in the state court only established that they had done the crime of murder. It did not discuss at all in that trial the question of race. The difference in this federal trial is it was based on not only was he murdered, but he was murdered because he was black. That's what the mayor was referring to about with Trayvon. We must be clear that racism is not over in this country. And we've got to fight until we deal with equal protection under the law, no matter what the race of the victim or the victimizer. Now, the question is, we can never change everybody's heart, but we can change their behavior. I can't make you like me, but I can stop you from hurting me and harming me. People talk about you ain't never gonna be able to legislate love. No, but I can certainly legislate locking up hate. I don't care whether you like me. I got daughters and grandsons that like me. At least they act like it on holidays. But I want to be protected against you being able to harm me with no accountability. So the challenge is that we fought to get in position to protect our community. So the challenge now, Reverend Brawley, challenge now, Hazel. Problem now, we got sister from the Children's Defense Fund. Where is she at? The head of the children. Come on, you belong up here with us. Casina, come on up. Children's Defense Fund, we're happy to have her in the house, one of our leaders. Come on up. That's Katrina, you can trust her with your pocketbook or something. The challenge we have, I want y'all to hear this, and people watching around the country need to take issue with this. We have, for the first time, broadly, a black male, black president of the New York City Council, black speaker of the City Council, black district attorney in Manhattan, black district attorney in the Bronx, black speaker of the New York State Assembly, black majority leader of the New York State Senate, black over Eastern District U.S. Attorney's Office, black over Southern District U.S. Attorney's Office, and a black Attorney General of the state. We got more blacks in position of power than we ever had. Now what we gonna do with it? We did not fight, go to jail, take knives in our chests to put some black faces in high places. We fought that if we put you there, you would fight to protect all of us that was not there. We don't want to hear y'all calling each other names. We want y'all to get in the room and protect the community that was neglected and overlooked. Some folks think the only reason they're there is to criticize who's there. That ain't why we put you there. We put you there so that we would hope, whether y'all agree on everything or not, that y'all agree on protecting us and giving better education and better housing and a better life to us. At the end of all of this black power, if black people and others have not benefited, it means nothing. Too many black leadership act like the movement was a career movement for them. I was at an event not long ago. Guy walked over to me and said, "Reverend, I want to give you my card. I'm senior vice president of one of the major corporations." I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Can you do something about the contracts they give?" "Well, no, that's not my department." I said, "Well, can you do something about it? I got some foundations like Trayvon. Can you give funding?" No, that's not my department." I said, "Well, what about those that are in this big company getting elevated? Do you make sure they get elevated?" No, I don't handle that." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you your card back. Because there ain't nothing you can do for me. You the senior vice president of irrelevance." Some folk just get big titles that mean nothing. We are not impressed with your title. We want to see your function. That's why when they were running for president 2 years ago, and all the candidates came to National Action Network Convention. There's about 17 of them running, and all 17 came. So we getting ready to have our convention right now. People signing up now. April 6th through the 9th. Sheridan, we having it in person. You that are watching on Impact TV or listen radio, you ought to go to online right now and register. NationalActionNetwork.net. NationalActionNetwork.net. Some of the biggest people in government and ministry, everybody will be free. But you got to register. Or call the toll-free number 1-877-626-4651. So everybody was here. Everybody was lined up that was running. Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, everybody was at our convention. And I got up and asked every one of them, "Fine, y'all spoke your 10 minutes. Will you support H.R. 40, reparations for blacks? Biden, will you appoint somebody black on the ticket?" "Well, I'm going to put a black woman in the Supreme Court." "Good. What about a black woman on the ticket?" This morning, we have a black woman vice president and a black woman going to the Supreme Court. Everybody has a role to play. Our role is activists in the King tradition. I ain't trying to be the governor. I'm not trying to be whatever everybody else. I do this. That's why I tell them I don't care how much money we raise. I want to be on the ground, small storefront on the ground. So people can roll in here, whatever they wear, they ain't got to get dressed up. See, you get a big cathedral, y'all think y'all got to wear your Sunday best. And I want y'all to come just as you are. I want you to take a little bath in deodorant, but other than that, I want to be on the ground. And those that are on the ground with me, I raise their questions. People would say to me, "Don't bring up reparations." I didn't get there to not bring it up. Folks watch my television show Saturday and Sunday night. I'm not on MSNBC to be another broadcaster. I'm there to raise the questions that others won't raise. Know why you are where you are. Otherwise, you won't last while you're there. That's why when Ben Crump and Sabrina and them came to us, and we started running it on my show on MSNBC, somebody in the production staff said, can we do that story? I said, that's why I'm here. If I can't talk about Trayvon, then y'all got to, you know, I always talk about, there are two Al's that have shows at 30 Rockefeller Center. That's where NBC is, 30 Rockefeller Center. There's Al Roker and there's Al Sharpton. One gives you the weather, the other changes the weather. Martin Luther King said there are two types of leaders. There are thermostats and there are thermometers. Thermometers tell you the temperature in the room. Thermostats change the temperature in the room. I come out of the thermostat kind of leadership where you turn up the heat. Because when we first went to Sanford, Sabrina would tell you they would not even arrest George Zimmerman. The pain she talked about, imagine the pain of a mother that this man for no reason kills her son. Son walking the apartment to see his daddy with a bottle of iced tea and Skittles. And this man wanting to be a watchman. Describing a black man with a hoodie, automatically the racial profile tells him he has the right to kill him. And they won't even arrest him. And the prosecutor said, stand your ground law. What nobody wants to talk about is for days and weeks, this woman had to bear the pain of not only her child gone, but the one that took him was not even put in handcuffs. They brought him to the police station, interviewed him, and sent him home. Imagine the pain of you sitting at your dinner table and the empty chair there for Trayvon. But George Zimmerman is home eating with his family. That's why Sabrina Tracy and Javaris came to the rallies and all, because it was the people that rose up that said, we can't tell you the result, but you're going to arrest this man. Because when he shot Trayvon, he shot a hole in all of us. And we showed through Trayvon that we would not accept no for an answer. I'll never forget, we were in Washington, D.C., and the prosecutor called and told Ben Crump and told Sabrina that I'm going to announce something in 2 hours. And we sat there and watched the TV in the Washington Hotel at the National Action Network Convention. Ben Crump, the parents, Reverend Jamal Bryant was with us, Dr. Franklin Richardson, as she announced that indictment. And the thing that we knew is it was an indictment on Zimmerman that they never intended to do. They never intended to indict with George Floyd. It is the people rising up. That's why Sabrina was saying, don't you give up. They never intended to give us justice. But let me tell you something. Justice and freedom does not come from the intent of the other side. It comes from the determination of those that are the victims. If you accept being down, that's on you. If I stepped off this platform and walked over to where you sit and knocked you off your seat, that's on me. But if we come back in here next Saturday morning and you still laying on the floor, that's on you. What I mean by that, even if you're not responsible for being down, you're responsible for getting up. And if you wait on those to knock you down, to lift you up, you'll never get up, because if they wanted you up, they'd have never knocked you down. What Trayvon's death did was tell us we're tired of being knocked down. And I remember that night, they called me to the studio and said the verdict was coming in. And they had mocked all of the witnesses. One sister that testified for Trayvon, they mocked him, they made memes out of them. Jury came back not guilty. But little did they know that there's a God in the plane. Because that night, while we were all shaking and teary-eyed that Zimmerman was acquitted, 3 young black girls wrote an expression that became the theme for the next decade: Black Lives Matter. That came out of Trayvon. And we took Black Lives Matter to where now policemen are going to jail. Now murderers in Brunswick, Georgia is going to jail. What the seed that was planted by this family is grown into a tree of justice all over this country. We won't stop. We won't give up. Trayvon lives on through us. There is a scripture, St. Matthew 18 chapter. Jesus said, when they asked him, who is the greatest? Showed that Hazel, even in those days, they was ego tripping and flexing. We have ministers' conferences, and we all be trying to say who could out-preach who. Who got the biggest church? Flexing, who is the greatest? And I call preachers on Sunday night, how was your service? Oh, Doc, I preached in front of 2,000. And you ain't got but 500 seats, I don't know how you did that. But we all flexing. But Jesus looked past all of the ego and said, bring unto me a little child. And he went further. He said, if you hurt one of these little ones, it's better that a milestone be placed around your neck. There's something about hurting young, innocent people that God will bring the justice. Vengeance is mine. They thought they got away with killing another young black kid. Little did they know that that was the beginning of a movement that they could not put back in the can. It was Trayvon that helped decide the next president after Donald Trump, because it was the movement from Trayvon to George Floyd that made black folks come out and vote in numbers they never voted before in a pandemic. Some of y'all, we couldn't get you to vote if we brought a taxi cab to your house and a doorman to bring you downstairs. But from Trayvon to George, folk come out with masks on their face, not knowing if they would get COVID, but they stood in line for months. They stood in line for hours to give a vote to let folk know we're not going to take it. That is why it is important we mark this day. Because there's some things that make us step outside of ourselves. That's why I told you that story about Rosa Parks and Emmett Till. The reason why Emmett Till shook up the world, Mamie Till Mosley has been here to the House of Justice before she died. And she told that story about how her son Emmett was from Chicago. They lived in Chicago. They had relatives in Mississippi. And he went down to Mississippi to visit his uncle. While he was there, he was in a store. And they claimed he whistled at one of the white women in the store. And they came that night and took him and brought him out and beat him and put him in a ditch and killed him. And the bruises were so big, his head was double the size in bruises. He wasn't the only one that had been killed. He wasn't the only one that had been brutalized. But the difference was when they brought his body back to Chicago, his mother said, wait a minute, open up that casket. I want the world to see my son's head. I want the world to see what they did to him. And they had the funeral at the Church of God in Christ and opened up the casket. And Jet Magazine, owned by John Johnson, a black man, put that picture and it went around the world. That's why Rosa Parks couldn't forget what happened to Emmett Till, and she kept her seat on that bus. Because Sabrina, because Javaris, because Tracy would not shut up, would not just let it go what happened to Trayvon. When I met them, he'd already been funeralized and buried, but they wouldn't let it go. Had they just said, well, Ben Crump, see if you can get us some settlement money, which is just some hush money. But they wouldn't hush. They wouldn't sit down. They wouldn't shut up. And because this mother stood up like Emmett Till's mother, Hillary Clinton had to come to her. Bill Clinton had to come. Joe Biden, Barack Obama stood up and said, it could have been my son. God uses ordinary women and mothers like Sabrina Fulton to shake up a nation. That's why the Spirit of God goes beyond our strategies. We had no idea when we called the march and rally in Sanford that people would come like they came. 10,000 people showed up that night. I came even though I found out my mother died that morning. We came, people everywhere. Next thing we know, LeBron and them were wearing hoodies on the basketball court. Entertainers that never got involved in nothing started rapping about Trayvon. People that never were involved started getting involved. Sabrina started getting calls from everybody saying that they wanted to support getting justice. There's something about when God decides to move. That's why you don't have to figure it out. If you walk by faith, God got more for you than you can plot for yourself. God will give you what you have earned if you just quit asking for things that you haven't earned and just do the work. If you do the work, God will give you the pay. Some of y'all try to act to be seen, but if you just do the work, it'll stand out for you. Everybody that made history, they got lost in something bigger than them. Bible talks about he that loseth himself shall find himself. He that findeth himself shall lose himself. You need to get lost in the struggle, and therefore you can find yourself there. And sometimes if you get lost in something bigger than you, whatever mistakes you made, whatever fallings and failings you made, can be cleansed by you doing what is right. That's why I tell people to come in here and broadly, I don't care what you did. It's about what you do. Your past, you can't undo. But your present and your future, you can do. Ain't no such thing as what qualifies you to be a freedom fighter. All you got to do is be determined to fight for freedom. Well, Rev, you don't understand. I did this and that and like that. You ain't the first one made a mistake. Everybody judging you made a mistake. My mother used to tell me God can take a crooked stick to hit a straight lick. You ain't got to explain to me what you did. We got work to do. We got a black woman on the Supreme Court that's going to have to hear about affirmative action. We got work to do. We got black mayors and black presidents of city councils, but black folk can't afford the housing they live in. We got work to do. We got people in the street with mental health conditions forced into the streets during the pandemic. We got work to do. I don't care how much you made mistakes. You might have went to jail. You might have done things wrong. Get yourself together. We got work to do. Anybody that judges what you did, they only disqualifying themselves. Reverend, I don't know if you need to deal with them. You don't know their background. I don't know your background. And you don't know mine. All of us done something that we don't want out there. I learned, Sabrina, to just put mine out there. Reverend Al, I heard you did. Yeah, I did, and I did this too. Now, let's discuss racial justice. I done stuff you don't know nothing about. God don't use angels. He uses human beings. Angels are in heaven. Human beings are on earth. But if God be for you, it's more than the whole world against you. And if God can forgive you, don't let nobody else stop you. And that's why 10 years later, we still marching. 10 years later, we still holding up the banner in Trayvon's name. We're putting people on Supreme Courts in Trayvon's name. We're making people mayors of cities in Trayvon's name. We're changing the color of city council in Trayvon's name. We're changing the flavor of cities in Trayvon's name. We're making Black Lives Matter in Trayvon's name. We won't forward ever, backward never in Trayvon's name. 10 years later, his name will never be forgotten. We come this far by faith. We didn't have a budget, but we had faith. We didn't have a 5-year plan or 10-year plan, but we had faith. We didn't know when we started what would happen, but we had faith. We had no idea that 10 years later they'd still be packing places in the name of Trayvon. But we come this far by faith. Leaning on the Lord, trusting in his holy word. He never, from the slave ship to the outhouse to the White House, he never failed us yet.
We've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in his holy word. God never failed us yet.
Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Singing like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We want justice. We want freedom. Everybody's singing. Singing for trademark. Trademark marches. Everybody's singing. One more time now. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. I'm opening the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today that never joined National Action Network. You hear our broadcast, you watch us on television, but you never became an active member of National Action Network. If you're here and never joined, come down to me now. Let us sign you up this morning. Couldn't be a better day than right now than to become a member of National Action Network. You may not even have the membership dues. Don't matter. Come on and let us sign you up right now. Just come down to me. If you're listening on radio and want to join, call 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and they will let you register by phone. But if you're here, come on down and join right now. Everybody's singing. All right. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We want justice. We want freedom. Everybody singing. All right. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. All right. I'm going to raise our offering, taking out new members, and then let you go. We say 9 to 11. I'm right at 11, so we're going to move quickly. I need everybody to give to the best of their ability. I want y'all to give. Well, I have company. Don't embarrass me in front of Rev Brawley when I call for money. I want y'all to act like y'all got good sense of them. Come on, come on. All right. I need about 10 people, about 10, that can give $100 or more to come quicker. Guardians, $100. Reverend Brawley, $100. Anonymous, $100. Hazel Dukes, $100. Lloyd Williams, $100. Winston Gilchrist, $100. My brother, Luis Papa, $120. Brother Roberts, $100. Brother Wayne, $100. Brother Terrence Floyd, $100. Brother Abdul, $100. Brother Darrell Bennett, $100. Elder Humbert, $100. God Slingshot, slinging me $100. Rachel Nordlinger, $100. Reverend McGraw Kennedy, $100. All right. 50s, 50s, 50s. Come on, 50s. I'm not talking about the rapper. I'm talking about some money. 50. Already announced it. Brother David, $100. $50, I'm sorry. Minister Carolyn coming, $50. Come on, 50, 50, 50. Brother Matthew, $50. Our own Sister Sandra Mitchell, $50. The Welcome Committee, $50. 20s, 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 20s. Come on. Let's take in the new members. As we get ready for that, I want to, for you that don't know our procedure, we're going to take in the new members, then I'm going to do a dismissal. You that want to fist bump, say hello to us can come and do that. You that want to get a copy of my new book, you can get it at the counter. I'll sign it for you. But we don't have books. We sold out. All right, we'll put your name down. You that, everyone that has not signed up for the convention can sign up at the counter. All right, bring down new members. That's a good thing we sold out of books.